In algebra, kunama equations called them quadratic equations. You know, when we solve these equations, sithola ama real solutions 1, 2, 3, 3.5, something like that, right? But other equations, when we try to solve them, more especially if you try solving them using a quadratic equation, uma uthi uyipuncha ku calculator, it says math error, then uthi no solution. But lana ke, I'm going to show you how to solve these equations and expressing your solution as a complex number, okay? As a complex number. You don't actually need a calculator for this, for solving these equations. All you have to do is just using the quadratic formula and doing everything step by step. These types of equations are some of the equations or some of the questions that you might come across under complex numbers. So I'm going to show you how to deal with them. So this video is going to be relevant for level 3 and level 4. So we know that a quadratic equation, in order to be simplified, should be written in standard form. So this is the standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, the quadratic equation can be solved in 3 different ways: using the factoring method, using the completion of the square, and using the quadratic formula. But out of the 3, the quickest way to go about solving these types of equations is the quadratic formula, right? In some instances, the factoring method, the completion of the square works. However, it's going to be a tedious process. So I'm not saying you can use it, but the quickest way to go about solving these types of equations is using the quadratic equation. All right? So let's take our first example. Maybe we go with this one. Let me see if I'm writing in the correct slide. Okay. So let's grab example number 1. I have an equation that is x squared plus 30 equal to 5x. I cannot solve this equation yet. What I have to do is rewrite the equation in standard form. I'm going to say x squared, ngithathe the 5x, ngitranspose it to the left. When it gets to the left hand side, about minus 5x plus 30x equal to 0. All right? You may try factorizing this or try using the factoring method. Anyagi sevens. It won't work. Now, I have my equation in standard form. I have a as being equal to 1. I have b as being equal to minus 5. And I also have c as 30. Now, I'm going to substitute ABC into my quadratic equation to get abu x value bar. This is the quadratic equation, b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Then x becomes minus b. So where does b in your figure? The minus 5. Minus 5 plus minus the square root of a minus 5 squared minus 4, then a, it's 1, c, that's 30. Close the bracket and divide everything by 2 multiplied by 1. So let's simplify this part. That gives us a positive 5. Remember, you're going to have to solve everything step by step. We solve this. We solve what's under the square root. Don't punch everything. Don't take a calculator and try to punch the whole thing. Uzothola a math error. It's because of the complex solution that emerges. Now, I'm solving this. I'm now going to solve what's under the square root. 5 squared to 25 minus 4 times 1 times 30. What is that? Let me punch this on the calculator. 4, not 74. So that's 120 divided by 2. X is equal to 5 plus minus 25 minus 120. 25 minus 120, that's square root of 95. So you answer 95 over 2. Then what you'll have to do is express this square root as a complex number. As a complex number, let me go back to yellow. X is equal to 5 plus minus, then you take the square root of 95 times the square root of minus 1 over 2. So you want to isolate square root minus 1 from the minus 95, right? So the square root of negative 1, that's the complex part, I mean the imaginary part, and then you isolate 95 as a positive number, right? So what is the square root of 95? Square root of 95, well, it's just the square root of 95. So this is gonna be okay, I'm continuing this side. Let me do that. X is equal to 5 plus minus square root of 95 is just square root of 95. I'm gonna write it like this for now. And then the square root of minus 1, we know that Kuma complex numbers, it's I. We represent it by I divided by 2. Then maybe the question might say express your roots as A plus BI. So you have to take the 2, divide the real part, divide the imaginary part. So you get about 5 over 2 plus minus the square root of 95 over 2 raised to, I, not raised to, but I. This I, the imaginary part. So ngaishia la, and then if the question wants you to round it off, you can do that. Now, example number 2. Example number 2. Example number 2. So for example number 2, let's say we have square root 2 plus 25 equal to 0. Alright, so this is also a quadratic equation. How do I know? I have an x squared. On the first one I had an x squared. I knew that I am dealing with a quadratic equation. Even on this one I'm dealing with a quadratic equation. However, it's not the usual quadratic equation because the b value are equal. The a, it's 1. The c, that's 25. B, that's gonna be 0. There is no bx. There is no bx, so the b, we're gonna make it ubani 0. We can go ahead and calculate using the quadratic equation. Minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Alright, then I know go to a1 it's 1. My b, since I get, I'm gonna use 0, and then c, that's gonna be at 25. X is equal to minus, what is b? b 0 plus minus the square root of b squared. B, that's also 0. Minus 4, what is a? A, that's 1. C, that's 25. 25 or positive 25 over 2 times 1, which is 2. So minus 0, that's gonna be 0. Plus minus the square root of, what is 0 squared minus 4 times 1 times 25? 0 minus 4 times 1 times 25. I'm getting a minus 100. Minus 100 over 2. So then x becomes 0 plus minus the square root of 100 multiplied by the square root of minus 1. Remember, we have to isolate to minus 1 whenever we have a square root of a negative number. If you have the square root of minus 1, just rewrite it as I. X is equal to 0 plus minus the square root of 100, that's 10. Then the square root of minus 1, it's I divided by 2. Then for x, we're going to say 0 divided by 2 plus minus 10 over the square root of 2i. X is 0 plus minus 5i. So this is my solution. Here's an alternative and the quickest way of doing this. X squared, or transpose the 25 to the right hand side, by a minus 25. Okay, then you take the square root, you take the square root as well. You take the square root on both sides. Lana kuba square root, I mean, it's just going to be x equal to the square root of 25 multiplied by the square root of minus 1. Multiplied by the square root of minus 1. Okay, oh, it's a plus minus here, because when we take the square root of a number, we have to write it as a plus or a minus. Then x is equal to, what is the square root of 25? That's 5, so it's a plus minus 5 la. I, here's the plus minus 5i la, as we calculated using the quadratic formula, right? Then x is equal to 0 plus minus 5i, because I have to write it as a complex number, so I have to put in 0. I don't have a real part for this one. All right, so I leave it like this. This is our second example. So this method I apply whenever the bx not present. When bx is not present. Let's take a last example. Let's take the last example. Wait, I want to erase this part here. Okay, example 3. Example number 3. I have an x cubed plus 25x. Maybe the cube is a bit weird. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Now that's clear. So 25x equal to 0. All right. I have a cube. This is definitely not a quadratic equation, but something can be done to this equation to convert it into a quadratic equation. Okay. So I can see that I have x for the first term and another x for the second term. So what do? I take out the x as a common factor. I'm now left with the square root. I'm now left with x squared plus 25 equal to 0. Now I have the following solutions. I'm going to apply the zero factor law. X when you are equal to 0, or when x squared plus 25 you are equal to 0. All right. And on the second example, you saw what happened. We had a similar example where we had x squared plus 25. So when this is simplified, it gives us x that is a plus minus, in fact a 0 plus minus 5i. Okay, so with this example I was trying to demonstrate with, hey, look man, look, whenever you are given a higher power that is not x squared, try to factorize, right? Factorize. In other instances you will have to factorize. In fact, let me not just say factorize, let me say simplify. Factorize or simplify. Okay, I'm adding this onto factorize. Okay, let's do one last example. Nah, this one is good. So good. All right. Where's this one? Okay. And x exponent 4 plus 2x squared plus 24 is equal to 0. All right. In a way, this is also a quadratic equation. Yes, my x is exponent 4, not x squared. All right. But how do you know what an equation is a quadratic equation? Back. This equation is in standard form. Nangu C, nangu B, there's also A, right? Now the only drawdown, it's the x exponent 4, because we are used to a x squared. But now let me explain something. On x exponent 2, and then 101. What is 2 divided by 2? It's 1. So it means that the powers of the x values, in a quadratic equation, they are sort of like being divided by 2 to get the next exponent. So I have x squared. Take the 2 and divide it by 2, tolobani, 1. If there was a 6, I'm expecting to have a 3. If there was a 10, I'm expecting to have a 5. 4 divide by 2, I'm getting what? A 2. This is confirmation which you are actually dealing with a quadratic equation. Alright? So, what do? We take this to a quadratic equation. We're going to do this. So that A, you are equal to 1, B, you are equal to 2, C, you are equal to A 24. X is equal to a minus B plus minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC divided by 2A, then X minus B 2, so that's 2 plus minus the square root of B, that's 2 minus 4, what is A? That's 1, C, it's 24, Bekang Palu 25, it's 4 over 2, what is A? That's 1, equal to minus 2 plus minus the square root of, let me do the calculation underneath the square root, 4 times 1 times 24, minus 92 divided by 2, X is equal to, okay, I actually did a I did a bit of a mistake, but I'll rectify it with the quadratic equation. I'll fix it. Alright, a minus 2 plus minus the square root of 92 multiplied by the square root of a negative 1 divided by 2. X is equal to minus 2 plus minus square root of 92, square root of 92, this simplifies to a 2 square root 23i over 2. Then X is equal to a minus 2 over 2 plus minus 2 square root 23i over 2. Then lana we get a minus 1 plus minus square root 23i. Alright, now this is the mistake I did. Okay, now we are actually solving for x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared. Why? It's because of the exponent, the highest power laubani with 2, right? With 2. No, it's 4. It's 4. Okay? So when we are solving for a quadratic equation like this one, the normal one, we are actually solving for x, right? We're solving for x. Now I have an x squared. I'm solving for x. Lana, I have an x raised to exponent 4. What am I solving for? X squared. But now, maybe I should have gave instructions last. So we are solving for x in the form a plus bi. So you know what my answer is gonna be a thingy, a complex number. All right. So I have an x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared, x squared. So the quadratic equation was solving for x squared, but Mina, I want us to solve for x. So when we get to the last solution, we do this. We take the square root on both sides, and then don't forget the answer should be a plus or a minus. So x now becomes a plus minus the square root of minus 1 plus minus 23 square root 23 I. This is the final answer. Okay, so example 4 is just to show you some of the problems or the equations a little bit complicated. Okay, a little bit complicated, but I'm gonna end this lesson here, but I'm gonna leave you with problems. I'm gonna leave you with the problems. I want you to take this and try to solve. Equal to 0, solve for x, and yeah, perhaps this one, x exponent 5 minus 16x equal to 0. Solve for these two equations and try getting complex solutions for them, right? I was gonna do them, but I thought, hey, by solve. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll spawn on the next recording. If you have any questions or you have solutions for these two problems, we'll post in the comment section. For now, peace.